Okay. Yeah, sorry for the repeat, ladies and gentlemen. We're just trying to establish a quorum. It sounds like we have one. So I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting of the Sacramento Transportation Authority to order. And Madam Clerk, if you would go ahead and officially take the roll at this time. Thank you.
Frost.
Here.
Gatewood. Guetta.
Here.
Hanson. Harris.
Here.
Howell.
Here.
Hume.
Here.
Kennedy. Miller.
Here.
Natoli.
Here.
Peters.
Here.
Sandoon.
Here.
Herber.
Here.
Chenier.
Here.
Cerna.
Here.
Suen.
Here.
And you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, wherever you are, if you could please rise or wherever you are, join me in the pledge if you find the flag. Hand over heart. Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
Okay, in compliance with the directives of the County, State, and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, this meeting is live streamed and closed to the public. Temporary procedures are subject to change pursuant to guidelines related to social distancing and minimizing person-to-person contact. Members of the public are encouraged to submit public comments electronically. Public comments will be distributed to members of the board and filed in the meeting record. Public comments may be related to a specific agenda item number or for a matter that is not posted on the agenda, referred to as an off-agenda item. Madam Clerk, would you please go ahead and let folks know how to make a public comment or view the meeting?
Yes. How to make a public comment. Email boardclerk@saccounty.net. Include agenda item number, and it is optional to include your first and last name. How to view a meeting. The meeting is videotaped in Comcast Live on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed captioned and webcast at sacmetrocable.tv. Today's meeting will replay Sunday, June 14th at 2 p.m. and Wednesday, June 17th at 9 a.m. on Channel 14.
Thank you very much. So just before we go into comments from the public, not on the agenda, there'll be an opportunity, of course, for my fellow board members to make comments at the end. But I just thought I wanted to take this brief moment just to acknowledge everything that's going on around us. Obviously, the pandemic is still present. Today I'm sitting solo up here for those reasons. And then, of course, I just want to acknowledge that we all continue to mourn the loss of George Floyd and the other similar incidents that remind us or emphasize the racial inequities that are going across this nation. I was born and raised in Sacramento, although I represent Elk Grove, live in Elk Grove today, and I'm really proud of the diversity of this region. But I do recognize that the old roots of racism still exist, and I will continue to fight along with, I believe, all my board members up here. I've known all of them, and all of them are in this fight together. We're in this fight together. We'll continue to fight for equity in this region and to make this region an inclusive region for all. Okay, with that, I just want to move to comments regarding not on the agenda. Madam Clerk, are there any comments?
No, we have not received any comments at this time.
Thank you. Executive Director's report, Mr. Kempton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You have a report in the packet, just a little more detail on a couple of the items with respect to funding. The House Transportation and Infrastructure Committee has initiated a draft reauthorization bill in Washington. It's called the INVEST Act. As I think you know, we always have an acronym that goes along with the federal transportation authorizing legislation. So we're talking about investing in a new vision by the environment and surface transportation, or for the environment and surface transportation, or the INVEST Act. We are looking at a proposal that's coming out of the House that would extend the existing act by 1 year, and then would be 4 years of a new authorization that would include some pretty significant changes. The markup for the bill is scheduled for later this month. At the state level, the budget deadline is this Monday, June 15th. With respect to state transportation, we don't expect much of an initial significant impact. However, if you read the report, you know that the Minetta Transportation Institute did some research with respect to the future of the major source of revenue for transportation in California, which is the gas tax, and they project the loss of potentially $20 billion over the next decade as a result of the pandemic, and that's obviously a very significant hit. Wanted to let you know that all applications for the Formulaic Local Partnership Program have been submitted. We have packaged them and will be delivering them to the California Transportation Commission tomorrow on deadline. Then we will begin the process of reviewing the projects and putting together the packages for the projects that are listed or you will consider for prioritization later in the agenda under item 7. So with that, Mr. Chairman, if there are no questions, that completes my report.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kempton. Are there any questions for Mr. Kempton from the board? No? Okay. Seeing none, we have a consent. I also want to take note. Director Gatewood, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, great. Welcome. We'll add Director Gatewood to the roll. Madam Clerk, would you mind reading the consent calendars?
Your consent items 3 through 5 are in order for your approval.
All right. Thank you.
I'll move consent.
Okay, I think that's a motion
Second.
from Director Howell.
Second from Director Hanson.
And I thought I heard Director Hanson. Before we take the roll call vote, are there any comments on the consent calendar from the public calling in?
I do not have any comments at this time.
Okay, great. Please do a roll call vote then.
Frost?
Yes.
Gatewood?
Yes.
Guerra?
Aye.
Hanson?
Aye.
Harris?
Aye.
Howell?
Yes.
Hume?
Aye.
Kennedy? Miller?
Aye.
Natoli?
Aye.
Peters?
Aye.
Sandoon?
Aye.
Chenier?
Aye.
Cerna? Herber?
Yes.
Suen?
Aye.
And it passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to move to item 6. We have up a presentation from the University of the Pacific Center for Business and Policy Research. This is an economic impact of the proposed Sacramento County Measure A transportation sales tax. This was administered or convened by commissioned by SAC-RT. Welcome, Dr. Michael.
Thank you, Darren. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
It's good to get it out of the house these days. So,
Right.
And I still know how to tie. So, this we conducted this project to look at the economic impact of Measure A expenditures. I did it with my colleague, Dr. Thomas Pogue, who's not able to join us today, but he did a lot of the modeling as well. So I want to give full credit to him. Just a basic overview of what we're doing. This is a in-plan analysis. You've probably seen these before in other settings. We're looking specifically, a few things up front. We're looking specifically at the Sacramento County economy. And so our in-plan model is just of the Sacramento County economy, benchmarked to 2018, which is a most recent full year of available data. The assumption in this study is a pay-as-you-go approach, and this is a long-term measure, so we're looking all the way out to 2061. That does create some hazards in economic modeling because there will be a lot of changes in the world through that time. But our assumption is a pay-as-you-go approach in this model. Although it should be noted that particularly for the big construction and capital projects, those spending patterns could be accelerated and those resulting economic impacts could be moved forward. Also, we're including anticipated matching funds from state and federal sources that would be leveraged by Measure A. We estimated this by looking at previous results from Measure A and consulting with staff at SACRT, the Transportation Authority, and others. So this is based on previous experience. So we're looking specifically at the economic impact of the expenditures. It's the focus of the analysis. We also do not capture all economic benefits that would come from Measure A and just discuss those qualitatively. These things couldn't be captured easily in the in-plan model, but there are economic benefits like travel cost reductions to business and households, better access to employment opportunities for households, and a variety of health and environmental benefits that would come from specific provisions in Measure A. Looking at the total spending over time, we followed a staff estimate of $127 million in Measure A revenues in the first year with a 2.41% growth rate over time. Matching funds on average are a little over $1.50, a little over $1.50 for every $1 in local expenditure. So this graph sort of shows the growth of those revenues and expenditures over time. Basically, the trick to the analysis is to take the revenue and look at the program that's proposed and allocate it to the various sectors in the in-plan analysis. So we looked at we had about 150 different spending categories that fell under these 6 primary categories that you're probably familiar with from the Measure A expenditure plans. Local streets and roads, large congestion relief improvements, SACRT enhanced operations. There's estimated the allocation of Measure A funds of the estimated $8.4 billion over 40 years, an estimated matching funds for each of these categories. So you see that varies by sector, that for some of the big construction projects, matching funds often approach or close to $3 for each $1 of local funding. For some of the operational ones, the matching funds are less than $1 per dollar on average, but they're significant in all sectors. Classifying this across a variety of in-plan sectors. In-plan's a 536 sector model, the Sacramento County economy. We put this into about a dozen different sectors here, several construction sectors, some spending on capital expenditures like bus and railroad rolling stock, as well as some operational expenditures for transit that are highlighted there. This picture just is a sort of a schematic of how in-plan works, but you have the top line just illustrates the direct expenditures of the Measure A dollars. So you have direct expenditures, which translates into labor income and employment by each sector. The results here are expressed actually in 2020 dollars so that we can put those into current context. So you have those direct effects from the direct spending, and then you have the multiplier effects, which include indirect and induced effects as people spend their income in the Sacramento County and economy and various services and other sectors. we get indirect and induced effects. So the 89,000 in direct employment in Sacramento County becomes 132,000. Now this is cumulative employment over a 40-year period. So be careful that when we talk about jobs here, that we're talking about job years or years of employment. It's an important consideration when thinking about this. That a job is a year of employment. So the term is job years. As we look at how it breaks down across sectors, construction would be the most impacted sector in the county, generating over 48,000 job years over the 40 years. Transportation, operations and services is next, in a variety of service and government sectors. You can see the output effect is over $20 billion in 2020 dollars over the 40-year period. But just to summarize the basic conclusions, if we think about it in terms of an annual average, it helps put the numbers in context a bit more. We see the Measure A spending estimated will generate an annual average of 3,300 jobs in Sacramento County over the life of the measure, with construction being the top sector for that and accounting for over 1,200 of those jobs. This, again, is a pay-as-you-go sort of analysis. We don't have a specific timeline of spending, and we're sort of hesitate to put one into the report while those plans are still under development. But just to note that these employment impacts and construction impacts typically would be moved forward during this time frame through bond financing and to pull those capital projects forward. Also, it's important to note some of the limits to this sort of analysis of the economic impact of expenditures. So just to note, we're not estimating. We're estimating the impacts of the higher sales tax revenue and how it's used, but we aren't getting into other effects of the higher sales tax. And also, as mentioned at the beginning, we did not quantify all the economic competitiveness benefits of having a enhanced transportation system that lowers costs for business and households and makes your economy more efficient. So that's a summary of the report, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Michael. Before you leave, any questions for Dr. Michael from the board? No questions from the board members? Okay. Before I do want to thank you for your work. I know we got the fact sheet or summary in the last meeting, so appreciate the extra information this go around this time. So appreciate your work. I have a couple comments here from the public, and perhaps we'll if you could hang out and let's see if there's any particular questions. I have Joe Phil Bora signed up to speak from SAC-RT. Joe Phil? Oh, there you are. You're in the audience. Okay.
Good afternoon, Chair, Director Kempton, hardworking staff, and members of the board. My name is Joe Phil Borja. I represent Sacramento Regional Transit. We'd just like to express our sincere thanks to the authors of the report, the UOP and the Center for Economic Policy and Research, at looking at the potential benefits of the measure. What we'd like to point out is that the talks of stimulus and investments in our communities is not a foreign term, as we're going through a lot of difficult things, both in public health and social issues right now in Sacramento. SACOG, our partners that represents the MPO, Sacramento region, is also engaging with a lot of our federal partners as they're looking into how we can multiply the investments here that we have locally, regionally, and also throughout the state. Director Kempton had already mentioned that the CTC applications are due upcoming, and these local investment dollars are going to be going towards the competitiveness of the local projects that will be helping folks like you and I, folks that had to go over here and present, folks that ride the transit rail, folks that are stuck in traffic, and folks who are also seeing the fruits of the labors of the local projects that are already happening now in the local streets and roads. White House has already said as late as last week that economic stimulus is important as our country recovers from COVID. The House passed the HEROES Act, looking for infrastructure investments as we are trying to look at 2021 and onwards. And I strongly urge the board to really consider this report in partnership with Sacramento, in partnership with all of the jurisdictions that is represented in STA, to really critically look at how this investment could potentially become in the future, and how it could really do provide positive impacts to all of our communities, regardless of where they come from in all walks of life. So thank you so much, Director Sue.
Thank you, Joe Phil. I appreciate you commissioning the study to give us some data to draw from. Thank you very much. Appreciate all your work. Thank you. Madam Clerk, I think there's a public comment that was submitted as well.
Yes. It's from Carol and Patrick McIntosh. It's about the Measure A sales tax increase. Do not increase the sales tax at this time. People are struggling, are unemployed, are battered and beaten by this virus, isolation and protests, rioting and destruction. How dare you do this to us? Stop it.
Okay. Thank you very much. Yeah, and to be clear, this was a report on the economic impact analysis, and this board cannot raise taxes. It would be, if decided, put on the ballot by the County Board of Supervisors and decided by the voters of Sacramento County this November. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I wanted to make a comment on the report as well. Thank you to Dr. Michael, and thanks also to RT for commissioning the study. As you know, and as I've informed the board at our past meetings, we are looking at the potential to bring project work forward, not only with respect to the potential for the new measure, but also for the existing measure, and are working with SACOG to combine efforts to see if we cannot jointly produce a package of projects that would be done early in the next year that would help Sacramento County recover from the negative impacts of the pandemic. So this information was very helpful to us, and certainly sustains the approach that we're taking to put together a package that will in fact have a significant positive impact on the economy if we can put get everybody working together and put this program out.
Yeah, thank you very much for those comments. And as Mr. Borah mentioned about the federal package, any package is going to require most likely some local match. So if we're in a position to do that, that would be helpful to this region. But we'll see. Okay, item 7, Senate Bill 1, Cycle 3 Local Partnership Program Competitive Grant. Project prioritization. Mr. Kempton?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, as I mentioned in the Executive Director's report, we're prepared to submit the first component of the local partnership program, the group of projects that's determined by formula. Sacramento County learned earlier this year that we're going to be the beneficiaries of about $8.9 million of funding for the formulaic program over the 3-year periods of this cycle of SB1 funding. We have packaged, the board last month approved the distribution of those dollars. We've packaged up our applications for that program, and as I mentioned, they'll be going to the Commission tomorrow to meet that June 12th deadline. Second component is now before us, and that is the competitive grant program for the local partnership program. These are projects that are submitted statewide, and where there are multiple projects coming from a group of counties and jurisdictions. There can be a nominating agency, which we are a duty which we are performing for Sacramento County as part of this cycle. The competitive grant program nominations were presented to you last month. You got a chance to hear presentations from members of the agencies who are nominating those projects. Just for the board's edification, those staff people are present today in the event that there are any further questions on these projects. I just wanted to mention that we have Joe Borja and Laura Ham from Regional Transit. We have Kevin Busey from the City of Elk Grove. We have Albert Stricker from the City of Rancho Cordova, and Rick Carter is here for the County of Sacramento. 4 agencies, but 5 projects, as the county is submitting 2 projects. Sacramento RT is submitting a project called the Sacramento Valley Station Loop, which is double tracking and improvements, station improvements between the existing station and Township 9. City of Elk Grove is nominating Camera Road complete reconstruction between 99 and I-5 in the city of Elk Grove. I think most of it's in the city of Elk Grove. City of Rancho Cordova is nominating the White Rock Road Safety and Congestion Relief Project, and the county has two projects, the Alberta Road Improvement Project and the South Watt Avenue Improvement Project. So again, total of 5 projects with 4 agencies. Cycle 3 of this program includes 3 fiscal years from 2021 through 2023. As a reminder to the authority, during Cycle 2 of this program in 2017-18, Sacramento County did quite well, with 2 of our 6 project nominations being funded. $5 million went for the City of Sacramento Downtown Grid 3.0 implementation project, and $20 million for the Capital Southeast Corridor. Again, since more than one project is being nominated through the STA, applications must be prioritized prior to submittal to the CTC. Our priorities and project applications are due to the CTC no later than June 30th, and the CTC staff has indicated that the STA Governing Board should rank applications according to local priorities. The CTC staff will evaluate every nominated project, and it's important to note that all of these projects, regardless of the priorities that you set today, all of these projects will go forward to the CTC for consideration. They will be reviewed against the CTC's published evaluation criteria, and local priorities will be considered in the selection process, although the Commission tells us in the guidelines that they don't have to follow those local priorities. They certainly will take them under consideration. So again, we have local agency staffs here available to answer any other questions that you may have about the projects. If there are no questions, we can proceed with the polling, and if you can give the microphone back to me, Mr. Chairman, I'll explain the polling at that point.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Kempton?
Mr. Chair, this is Don Natoli.
Yeah. Yes, Vice Chair. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question I have. Will, you mentioned in the last go-round, and we went through this exercise the last time with the polling, the unofficial polling of members to try to get some ranking, I guess, of the projects to be submitted. You mentioned the 2 that got funded, but we actually submitted a list, I believe it had 5 or 6. Would you, in rank order, could you pull those up where, because some of those projects are once again competing today, and I just was curious, they didn't make the cut list for the CTC for the funding, but were certainly in rank order by the way that the STA board had put them together. So could you give me the 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever they were that were in that rank order the last time that didn't get funded?
Well, Mr. Natoli, I don't have the ranking. I do know that the Connector project was number 1 with the Grid 3.0 project closely behind. I do have the projects. It was, in addition to those 2 projects, it was the Hazel Avenue Improvement Phase 3 project requesting $5 million. The Alberta Road Improvement Project, which I believe is quite similar to the project that has been renominated by the county, and certainly Mr. Carter, who is here, could, and the same is true with the South Watt Avenue Improvement Project, he could confirm that. Also, Rancho Cordova had submitted the White Rock Road Transportation Improvement Project at $13.25 million. So those projects were part of the package. Let me just so we can see if we have the memory of some of our folks here. Which do you remember, Rick?
I thought South White Rock was, and not South White, that South Watt was number 3.
I'm asking Mr. Carter if he remembers the priority ranking for those 2 projects.
Unfortunately, I wasn't working at the county.
Oh, that's
at the time.
true. You weren't.
I don't remember how they came.
So, Mr. Stricker, do you remember the ranking for the White Rock Road project?
I don't remember exactly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Natoli, we don't seem to have that information, but I can certainly send it to you after the meeting. But those were the 6 projects included in the application.
Okay. Again, if memory serves me correct, I thought South that South Watt was number 3, and I know that Hayes, Alberta, certainly South White Rock were all up in the mix. And then, so new this time are Sacramento Valley Station, the Loop, and the Camera Road reconstruction. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's all I had at this point. I did want to just point out one item, and I think it was, all the projects are, very competitive and certainly, make strong arguments for congestion relief, for mobility, for enhancements for different modes of travel. One of the things, and I'm sure everyone had a chance to look at this, but I did want to notice, since we're not in a setting where we're all seated together, is that when it comes from a safety perspective, that was addressed in a number of the projects, but and I wanted to call out this one in particular, although there were other accidents related to the need for the project and some of these others. On South Watts, at that period of time, there was 99 collisions, there were a handful of fatalities, and there were a number of head-on collisions. And as I was reading through these, that from a safety perspective, and certainly loss of life, that particular project had elements, certainly at least in my view, scored very high. There were, I know Alberta had pointed out some bad collisions, and even at the Sacramento Valley Station for injury claims. And there's no doubt that all the projects would, make for wider, safer road widths and such, but that, there's certainly a demonstrated need from a safety perspective by virtue of the accidents and the loss of life and serious accidents that have occurred along South Watt. That's all I had to say. Thanks.
And Mr. Natoli, I think that you made one point that I'd like to reiterate, and that is that all of these projects are good, solid nominations relative to the criteria that the Commission will be looking at. I think we are, there's certainly no dearth of projects that need to be funded in Sacramento County, but these projects, I think, are all very competitive in the process and will as I said earlier, all of these projects will go forward to the Commission.
Are there any other comments or questions from board members?
Mr. Chair, this is Councilman Guerra from City of Sacramento.
Yep, Director Guerra, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity. I just wanted to also thank and agree with Director Natoli's comments about the safety issues, and sadly the number of bicycle with heavy-duty collisions have been very prevalent for people attempting to go to work on the South Watt Road area, and again, like all of these projects here have significant value, but the number of fatalities in that area has been pretty significant. So I wanted to underscore that because it's a connector between a number of our cities that go to a high employment area, and that's all I wanted to underscore that again. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kempton, go ahead, or are we handing over to...
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, we provided a copy of this unofficial poll, and let me step back for a moment and remind the board, for those of you that were serving on the board in January of 2018, this is very similar to the process that was employed for determining the priorities for Cycle 2 of the program. That is an unofficial poll where we do ask all of the board members to indicate their priorities from 1 through 5. Now, it is very important that there is no undervoting here, that every member list their priority for all of the projects. So you receive the poll not only as an attachment to the board item, but you received it in terms of our information email that we send out in conjunction with each meeting. So I hope everybody has a copy of the unofficial poll. Is there any member who does not have a copy?
Actually, I have a question. So with everybody remote, how are you going to...
I'll get to that.
Okay.
I just want to make sure everybody has a copy of the poll. And they are in a specific order, and it's not a priority order in terms of their list. The poll includes the Sacramento Valley Station, SVS Loop, the Camera Road Complete Reconstruction Project, the White Rock Road Safety and Congestion Relief Project, the Alberta Road Improvement Project, and the South Watt Avenue Improvement Project. When we went through this exercise in January of 2018, you were all sitting at the dais and were able to fill out the form in person and hand it to the clerk. And we went through. The clerk read the rankings, and we were able to make the priority determination on that basis with all members present. So we're going to go through a similar procedure for determining the prioritization this time around, except we're going to have to ask all of the members of the authority to provide their rankings over the phone. And it would be good if you would give us the rankings in that order that they are listed on the poll, so reading from top to bottom. So if I wanted to support Sacramento Valley Station as the number one priority from my perspective, I would put number one priority there. If Camera Road was number 2, I'd put 2. If White Rock Road was number 3. If you will read those priorities when the clerk asks for that information in the order that they're listed on the unofficial poll, that will be recorded. Once we get that recorded, we can show on the screen the total numbers that are added up by virtue of these priorities. And this is like golf. The lower number is the higher priority, because we're going to add the 1s, the 2s, the 3s, the 4s, the 5s up and get a total number for each of these projects, and then we'll be able to determine the priority from that perspective. If there is a tie, we have a couple of options for breaking that tie. Hopefully, we'll be able to get a clean decision without having to go back and consider a tie vote, but we do have the ability to do that if it happens.
So, Director Kempton, you plan to go down each board member individually?
Mm-hmm.
I actually would suggest an alternative is perhaps people can just email their vote, their ranking to the board clerk. We'll have them all, and then we can tally them. Because I don't, going down this list one by one, I just don't think it's a.
Darren, Darren, I'm not at my normal computer. I don't have access to my email, so I cannot email them in.
You can't. Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Likewise, I can't.
Yeah, Darren, I think it'd be easier just to do the poll. So
okay. All right.
Suggest.
So did I hear Director Howell and someone else said they were not at their computers, so they don't have the poll?
No, they can't email.
They can't email.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We have the poll. I have the poll.
Okay, everybody has the poll. Okay. Mr. Chair, I think that it will go a little quicker than perhaps you're thinking. The other concern that I have is if there is in fact a tie, how do we determine that tie after the fact?
Okay.
Or how do we break that tie after the fact? So with that, can we ask the? Thank you, Mr. Busey, Director Natoli. Mr. Busey from Elk Grove has given me the rankings for the previous exercise under Cycle 2. Number 1 was the Capital Southeast Connector. Number 2 was the Downtown Grid 3.0 implementation. Number 3 was the Hazel Avenue Improvement Phase 3. Number 4 was White Rock Road Transportation Improvement. Number 5 was South Watt Avenue Improvement. And number 6 was Alberta Road Improvement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Busey and Mr. Foe. Thank you.
Okay. So if we're ready, Mr. Chair, if I can proceed, we'll ask the clerk to call the roll and get the numbers.
Okay.
And again, very important that you do this in the order that they're listed on the poll.
Okay.
Frost,
Okay, I apologize for noise at my house due to some construction work. Sacramento Valley Station 5, Tamara Road 4, White Rock Road Safety 3, Alberta Road 2, South Watt Avenue 1.
Gatewood,
Sacramento Valley Station Loop 5, Camera Road, complete construction 3, White Rock Road 1, Alberta Road improvement 4, and South Watt Avenue 2.
Geta,
Sacramento Valley Station 1, Camer Road completion reconstruction 3, White Rock Road safety and congestion relief 4, Alberta Road improvement 5, South Watt Avenue improvement 2.
Hanson,
Sacramento Valley Station 1, Camera 2, South Watt 3. White Rock 5, Alberta 4, South Watt 3.
Harris,
Yeah, Sacramento Valley Station for the loop number 1, Camera Road number 4, White Rock Road number 3, South Watt number 2, and Alberta number 5.
Howell, Howell, Hume,
Sorry, I forgot I was still on mute. Sac Valley Station 5, Camera Road 2, White Rock 1, Alberta 3, South Watt Avenue 4. Sorry, Rancho, but you can't be in the top on everything.
Hume,
4, 1, 2, 5, 3.
Kennedy, Miller,
1, 3, 2, 5, 4.
Natoli,
5, 4, 2, 3, 1.
Peters,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Sandoon, Sandoon, Chenier,
1, 3, 4, 5, 2.
Cerna,
1, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Herber,
1, 2, 3, 5, 4.
Suen.
3, 1, 4, 5, 2.
Yep. So we got a tie, and it won't resolve it because there's actually using all 5 tiebreakers. We still have a tie, so you have to go through.
Yeah.
Property.
So what we'll do with the tie. So let me just read the results, and remember it's the lower number that prevails here. So for the Sacramento Valley Station, the total is 39. For the Camera Road project, the total is 41. For the White Rock Road project, the total is 41. There is the tie. And for Alberta Road, the total is 56. And South Watt Avenue is 33. So South Watt Avenue is the lowest score and is ranked number 1. Sacramento Valley Station is the second lowest score and would be ranked number 2. We need to take a vote, Mr. Chair, on the tie projects, which is Camera Road and White Rock Road. I would suggest that we simply just ask each of the members to choose their priority between those two projects, and then we can round out the rest of it. Alberta Road remains at number 5, or goes to number 5 in this. So we just need to determine which is 3 and which is 4, and that's between Camera Road and White Rock Road. So, Madam Clerk, if we could just simply go back through the list of our members and ask them to just pick their highest priority project between Camera Road and White Rock Road, and that will break that tie.
Frost,
White Rock Road.
Gatewood,
White Rock Road.
Geta,
Camera Road.
Hanson,
Camera.
Harris,
White Rock.
Howell,
Sorry, White Rock.
Hume,
Camera.
Kennedy, Miller,
White Rock.
Natoli,
White Rock.
Peters,
White Rock.
Sandoon,
Camera.
Chenier,
Camera.
Cerna,
White Rock.
Herber,
Cameron Road.
and Suen.
Camera.
I know. So, Mr. Chair, a member Sandhu, Director Sandhu, did not vote the first time around for the 5 projects. We can either elect to eliminate his vote in this second tiebreaker, or we can ask him to cast his ballot and recalculate the totals.
Well, he's here. Have him cast his ballot.
Okay, Director Sandhu, the clerk is going to ask you to go through your rankings for all 5 projects.
Sandhu,
Director Sandhu, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you go ahead and cast your
Dan,
vote?
can you read somebody one by one, then I can say the numbers? Because I'm that kind of position, I cannot see all these numbers.
I will read the project and you give us your ranking. Sacramento Valley Station.
Okay. 2.
Camera Road.
5.
White Rock Road.
Mr. Does he know that?
4. 4.
Does he know the order? I just want to make sure he knows the order.
Alberta.
Hold on, Mr. Kempton. I got to ask. Does he know does he understand the order? Director Sandhu,
Yes, go ahead.
do you understand the ranking? The highest priority is number 1, and the lowest priority is number 5.
Yes, I know.
Okay, thank you. I just want to confirm.
So Alberta Road.
Number 2.
Oh,
No, you already said that Sacramento Valley Station was number 2.
So I cannot say same number to the 2 projects.
So let me start over. Let me start over again. Sacramento Valley Station.
Number 2.
Number 2. Camera Road.
Number 4.
White Rock Road.
number 1,
Alberta Road,
number 3,
South Watt Avenue.
number 5.
Okay. Now, that eliminates the tie. With that vote in place, we now have number 1 priority under this vote is, with 33 points, is South Watt Avenue. Number 2 is Sacramento Valley Station at 41 votes. Number 3 is White Rock Road with 42 votes, or 42 points. Number 4 is Camera Road with 45, and number 5 is Alberta Road with 59. So priority number 1, again, is South Watt Avenue. Priority number 2 is Sacramento Valley Station. Priority number 3 is White Rock Road. Priority number 4 is Camera Road. And priority number 5 is Alberta Road.
And I think the tiebreaker was the same result anyway.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
All right. Well,
I'll make a motion that we approve those rankings. This Director.
Eller seconds that.
Okay, I've got a motion from Director Hansen and a second from Director Miller. And any other comments from the board
Mr.
members?
Chair,
Yeah,
Mr. Chair, just,
Vice Chair, go ahead.
It doesn't change the rankings, but I think Mr. Kempton, when he spoke just a moment ago, he said South Watt was 33. That was the original, it was 38, but it's still ranked number 1. I just want to be sure that was correct. It had 38.
Oh, yeah, you did add the 5.
Right, I just want to be sure. It didn't change the ranking. I just wanted to be sure, though, because it narrowed it a bit, but yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Huh. Okay.
Yes, you are correct, and that number is 38, but it still does not change the rankings. That's correct.
Got it.
Mr. Chair, is it possible to read those numbers just one more time, the final numbers?
Yes.
Sure, go ahead. Yep, sure.
Yes. For, and I'll read them in order. For the number 1 priority, it is South Watt Avenue with 38 points. Number 2 is Sacramento Valley Station with 41 points. Number 3 is White Rock Road Safety and Congestion Relief Project with 42 points. Number 4 is Camera Road with 45 points. And number 5 is Alberta Road Improvement with 59 points.
Thank you.
Well, members, I know this was not an easy process to do remotely.
Hold on, do we need to go ahead and do the roll call vote on this?
I'm sorry, please.
That's okay. Any other comments, though, from the board members? Okay, and I neglected it. Madam Clerk, is there any comments from the public on this item?
No, there are no public comments at this time.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Frost,
Aye.
Gatewood,
Aye.
Guerra,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Harris, Howell,
Aye.
Hume,
Aye.
Kennedy, Miller,
Aye.
Natoli,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Sandoon,
Aye.
Chenier,
Aye.
Cerna,
Aye.
Herbert,
Aye.
and Stewin.
Aye.
And your motion carries with Kennedy being absent and Harris not casting a vote.
Okay, thank you. All right, that brings us to the next item, approval of modification to the distribution of existing Measure A funding for senior and disabled transportation services. Mr. Kempton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. But before we get into that item, I did want to thank the members of the board. This was a difficult task, trying to figure out how we were going to do this in terms of setting up the priorities. We did have a good model that was presented during cycle 2, and trying to extend that to a virtual setting or remote setting was a little difficult, but I think it went reasonably well, and I appreciate the patience of the board and your consideration on that. Moving on to agenda item 8, this is a change that we're proposing to modify the distribution of existing Measure A funding for senior and disabled transportation services.
Hey, Derek, I need you for 1 minute.
I don't think that's for us. Hey, can everybody mute their phones?
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to waive the presentation and move the item. This is an agreement that I think has a lot of support. With the board feeling, I think we could just adopt it.
Well, Director Hansen, I thank you, but I think for just transparency, I think it's worth we at least just let folks present the item. Thank you.
I'll just make it very quick. SACOG has approved the designation of Sacramento Regional Transit as a consolidated transportation services agency, and the Regional Transit and Paratransit Incorporated have worked out an agreement to split the dollars that come through the existing Measure A senior and disabled transportation services. That averages over the life of the program about 4.5%. The agreed upon split is 30% going to Paratransit and 70% going to Regional Transit, and the item is before you to modify that funding split as SACOG has already approved the designation.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go on a limb and ask any questions from other board members. I heard Director Hansen, Director Miller. Okay, any public comment on the item?
No, there is no public comment at this time.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, I have a motion from Director Hansen and a second from Director Miller. Roll call vote, please.
Frost,
Aye.
Gatewood,
Yes.
Guerra,
Aye.
Hanson,
Aye.
Harris, Howell,
Yes.
Hume,
Aye.
Kennedy, Miller,
Yes.
Natoli,
Aye.
Peters,
Aye.
Sandoon,
Aye.
Chenier, Cerna,
Aye.
Herber,
Aye.
and Suen.
Aye.
And your motion carries with Kennedy being absent and Harris and I think that was it. Harris not casting a vote, and Chenier not casting a vote.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair, or Madam Clerk, excuse me. All right. Moving on to the final item, comments from any authority members. Any board members wishing to make a comment? Okay, hearing none. Thank you, everybody. Please continue to stay safe. Take care. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bye.
Thank you.